So, been looking for some property up north, someplace to get away. And we're looking at getting lakeside property. And we've been looking now for a bit, looking at lakeside property. And in the process of doing so, they had a storm off from Lake Huron that produced 19-foot waves that went up onto the shore and did some very severe damage to some strongholds of rocks and cement and things like that people had to block the water from their homes and threw it into their houses on some of them, so the damage was pretty severe. And we were looking at property, and we noticed that a whole bunch of property on the lakeside, on the islands and that we were looking at, went up for sale for real cheap. Now, when you're living in a place like Detroit, and you got like your neighbor right down smack on top of you, you know, you want to get away, you want to have some privacy. You want to have all this noise and everything. But when you want lakeside property, you have to remember that no matter what anybody says, the reality is the reality, and the reality is this, that the water is coming up further and further onto the shoreline. So you're losing acreage, you're losing footage of your shoreline. So that's something we have to keep into mind, because we have to get something that's elevated so that we don't lose too much of our shoreline. And so by doing that, we have to make sure that we're not too flat and that there's no housing structure too close to the lake. Because as the water tables come up, as far as the lake goes, with these ice caps melting, which if you want to believe in climate change or not, it makes no difference. The fact of the matter is that the water is coming up and taking away footage of the shoreline. So that you have to make sure that you don't go right here, that you come up further, because you're having water come further up. You're losing your shoreline. So you have to make sure that you remember that when you're buying an acre from the water to wherever, you're not going to have an acre, because as you keep losing more and more footage, it's less and less of an acre. But what you don't want to do is have your house